And we're back on Deb's True Crime Notebook. We'll reread the documents for you so you don't have to. It is day 17 in the Richard Allen trial. This is the afternoon session. We have heard this morning the rebuttal from the prosecution, and now it is the turn of the defense to come back and cross-examine the witnesses that have been presented in the prosecution's rebuttal. Let's get right into it. At 1:16 p.m., Judge Gull re-enters the courtroom, followed shortly by the jury. Defense attorney Brad Rosie initiates the cross-examination of Dr. John Martin, a licensed psychiatrist. Rosie informs the jury that Dr. Martin lacks a traditional bachelor's degree from an American university and mentions that Martin was fired from a position in Florida. He also notes Martin's involvement in lawsuits concerning an individual in solitary confinement. Prosecutor Stacey Diener requests a sidebar, prompting Judge Gull to instruct Rosie to move on. Martin explains to the jury that he went to Westfield due to a backlog of 250 cases. Rosie elaborates on SMI, or severe mental illness, but Diener objects, and Martin states that the solitary confinement can lead to or worsen mental health issues. He indicates to the jury that Allen could possibly experience fluctuations in and out of psychosis, sharing that some of their meetings occurred through his cell door. He admits he did not review any camcorder or in-cell footage of Allen. On April 13, 2023, Martin describes Allen as very psychotic. He acknowledges that Allen suffers from major depressive disorder and that his belief of being unfairly incarcerated could exacerbate his depression. Martin informs the jury that he concurs with his earlier expression of concerns regarding Allen's meeting with his lawyers. He mentions that Allen told Dr. Walla he perceived one of his lawyers as a good cop and the other as a bad cop. Martin acknowledges that he has previously treated a pretrial detainee in prison who had no prior criminal history. However, when Rosie presents Martin's earlier deposition, Martin agrees he had previously stated he had not treated any pretrial detainees in prison setting before. He concedes that Allen's circumstances were unique to him. While discussing his experience working on a computer outside the facility, Diener raises an objection to this testimony. Martin recounts an instance where he provided medication to an inmate from Michigan City while at Westville. He admits that he did not ignore if Allen had lawyers during their meeting in November 2022, describing that encounter as an interview rather than a formal psychiatric appointment. He also notes in a report from that time that Allen had consumed alcohol socially. Martin informs the jury that it would be more perplexing for an individual in solitary confinement if he had not committed any wrongdoing. Rosie requests to play a video from June 20th, 2023, where Allen expressed his desire to apologize to the families. Diener asked for a preview or a review, and the video is shown. The courtroom reporter reports that Kathy Allen averts her gaze and cannot see the screen. Gull calls for a sidebar during the video playback, prompting Diener to start again. Martin explains that his conversation with Allen on that day was an interview and that Allen was oriented, meaning he was in control of his faculties, according to Martin. Allen's expression of regret toward the families was spontaneous, though he cannot recall if the interaction was recorded. Martin tells the jury that he is unsure why Allen's behavior on June 20th, 2023 appears different from what he documented, but he does not doubt his own records. He believes that Allen had returned to baseline by May 2nd, 2023. Martin continues to administer Haldol after Allen's psychosis subsided to prevent a recurrence, stating that he never had to convene another emergency meeting for Allen following the first one in April of 2023. At 2:10 p.m., Rosie resumes the questioning. Martin tells the jury that there was nothing to convey that Allen could not have expressed spontaneously on June 6, 2023. At 2:13 p.m., the jury posed several questions. 1. Did the oral Haldol treatment continue after June 20th, 2023? Martin confirmed it did. What time did you meet with Allen on June 20th, 2023? Was the second question. Martin stated it was early in the morning. 3. Based on the video, could this presentation suggest faking? Martin replied no. 4. Is it possible for Alan to experience fluctuations in and out of psychosis within a 24-hour period? Martin answered yes. At 2:15 p.m., the state declared it had no additional rebuttal witnesses. Gull informed the jury that they had now heard all arguments in the case. The jury left the courtroom at 2:16 p.m. Defense attorney Andrew Baldwin revisited the jury's instructions, seeking to include a statement regarding confessions. The state objected, leading the defense to withdraw the request. Baldwin again raised the matter of an offer of proof concerning a man named Elvis Fields, who is linked to the defense's Odinism argument. The state argued this was irrelevant since the defense is already rested. Baldwin insisted on addressing Fields because he failed to respond to a subpoena. Judge Gull reiterated her previous ruling that he would not testify. The following is a direct transcript of an exhibit shown to the media today after court adjourned. It is a psych evaluation of Richard Allen prepared by Dr. John Martin on June 20th, 2023. Quote, "This morning the patient was interviewed in an interview cell. He had been wearing a uniform when he was taken to the cell but chose to take it off and was in t-shirt and boxers. Several contusions on his face had been self-induced or no longer as prominent. Eye contact was poor. He spoke very softly but also briefly. He kept asking for Dr. Walla. He was coherent and spoke without loose association or flight of ideas. He was oriented to person, place, time of day, and situation. He has a constricted," and there's a note here. It was difficult to read this particular word, so it's not included. "Effect. He said that he had suicidal ideations. He did not want to talk too much. What he did talk about was his concern for his wife. He said that he wanted to apologize to the families of his victims. He is eating his meals. He is keeping himself clean. A renewal of the log shows that he is getting an adequate amount of sleep and is eating most of his meals. He has been meeting with Dr. Walla for therapy sessions and is due to see her in a few minutes. He was not consistent in taking his oral medications, and so it was discontinued. He will continue on Prozac. I am discontinuing the Haldol Decanate today. In general, he is much improved and does not appear to be psychotic at the present time. He claims to be suicidal. He is continued on suicide watch. He will be interviewed again in 2 weeks." End of transcription. We have not heard any alibi for Richard Allen. I was hoping that they would have some kind of information about where he was at the time of the murders. That's it for today. We'll see you back tomorrow. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell for all notifications, leave us a message, and share this in your groups and with your friends. See you tomorrow.